I had to be with women around the other guys to perpetuate that reputation. If you're young, you're successful, you're good looking, you have a lot of money, it doesn't take long before the questions arise, why doesn't he have a girl in his life?
Former Major Leaguer Billy Beane, today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. Billy Beane was an outfielder. He played for the Detroit Tigers and then the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres between the years 1987 1995. Now, Billy was a good player. He made it to the major leagues, but he was an average player. He wasn't a superstar. He bounced back and forth between the majors and the minors. But it was after his retirement in 1995 that Billy may have made his greatest contribution to the game of baseball and to society. Because just 4 years after retiring, less than 4 years after retiring, Billy came out as gay, only the second major leaguer ever to do that. And very quickly, Billy became an icon in the LGBTQ community. By 2014, he had been named MLB's first ambassador for inclusion. And by 2016, he was senior vice president of Major League Baseball for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I met Billy Beane in 2003 when he wrote a memoir called Going the Other Way. It was a very candid, a very frank discussion of what it means to be a gay man, a closeted gay man at the time, in a major sports league. In just a moment, our conversation.
Come back with us now as we relive a little piece of our cultural history on Now I've Heard Everything. This interview is from Bill Thompson's 30-year archive. Enjoy.
So here now from 2003, Billy Beane.
I gather that it was pretty obvious to you from the outset that it had to be your whole life, not just your major league life.
Right. I think everybody needs to see a whole picture to get a feel. My life story is unremarkable compared to someone else's. I think it's just as important. It's not more important. It's not less important. I think that what gives me the responsibility and the opportunity to write a book is the fact that I did play in the big leagues. But I think everybody wants to see a arc of someone's life if they're reading about them. And it's not, hopefully there's more to my life. I'm 38 years old and, we tried to write a book that was really a commentary for a specific time period, an honest commentary.
Would you be disappointed if I told you that the first things I turned to in the book when it first arrived the day it got here was just the baseball stories you tell? I mean, I'm a huge fan, of just baseball in general, the Cubs in particular, but that's a whole other sad story. But, just the inside glimpse you give us of just the game. I mean, even just on that one level works so well in this book.
Right. And I think it's very important, and it makes me feel great that you acknowledge that, because obviously baseball has been a part of my life since I can remember. I think baseball is a wonderful canvas that allows people to come into the story and realize that this story is not about anything more than a human story. It's about a kid who wanted to make his parents proud. The fact that my whole life was directed towards making it to the big leagues. And, it was my life, the experience of the minor leagues and college and my first day in the big leagues and dealing with the superstars and not being a superstar and the reality of never feeling completely secure that my career was going to last forever or make, millions and millions of dollars. And I think people identify with somebody who's more of an everyman than that superstar.
But still, to live the dream that all little boys have, and quite a few little girls actually these days, of someday being able to put on a major league uniform, and not just so you can take your picture with somebody, to actually go out on a field and play in front of thousands of people who paid good hard-earned money to come see you play. What a great thrill that is.
It really was, and I speak, I think, expand on that extensively in the book. The idea of how amazed I was at really while it was happening to me. Growing up a baseball fan, respecting and loving the game, and I still do. And I think that the reason that I was able to somehow suppress, my private life and my homosexuality until my late 20s was because I was where I wanted to be. I was busy. I was constantly playing. I was playing in winter ball. I was playing spring training and instructional league. it was a full-time life. It wasn't just a job. It was everything. And, it wasn't until later into my career where you're on the road, you're traveling. I speak about, getting sent down to the minor leagues and the frustration, embarrassment of my mother coming to a ball game all the way in Detroit from California, the first time she sees me play for the Tigers, and I got sent down before that game started. And I had to walk and find her in the stands, and I couldn't even hold back the tears. I was just embarrassed because I thought my mom would, she was disappointed. It was a really sad day for me.
And see, those are the kinds of stories that I mean, we in the media, we report on these things every day. Every day I announce that so-and-so has been optioned to AAA, and you think, okay, that's fine. But you don't think about, there's a human being there whose feelings are hurt, whose mother maybe came to see him play. We don't think of those things.
The trauma of moving, everyone can identify with that. I mean, everybody's life is hard at times. Nobody has a perfect life, and athletes are no different. There's more attention drawn, I think, to the superstars where they see, the same name maybe in the same place for a long time, but they don't remember the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players who come and go, and the warfare to get there. And the idea of getting sent down, it sounds like a simple transaction in a sports page, but you have to pack your bags, move your stuff, and usually it's your family, it's your wife, it's your kids that are dragging along behind you, and the emotional toll that takes over the years, it really starts to add up.
Now, pile on all of that trauma and that stuff, the idea that you can't be publicly the person that you are. That's got to really be a horribly complicated situation.
Right. A lot of people, they ask, how did you not know? How did you not know? But the time and discipline that it takes to get to the major leagues, it's a years and years. You don't just zip on a uniform the day you decide, hey, I think I'm going to play for the New York Yankees. You have to start at the elementary school level and, ascend all the way up. And by the time you get there, a player has to have not only talent and great skill, but they have to have some savvy, and they have to be able to interact with other people. They're conditioned to the environments and the rules. And I think that is the best explanation. And if they read the book, they can see, all those steps that you take and the input from general managers and managers. And you get into that clubhouse, and the last thing you're thinking about is, your sexual orientation. You're just thinking about realizing your dream. And when you do have that added diversity like I did, I was taught without even trying to know that I needed to keep that quiet and protect that, because it just was not a part of the fabric that baseball and sports and 25 guys who were traveling around the country together in airplanes and restaurants and hotels, checking in, checking out, 3 a.m. wake-up calls, all of those things. It's a very invasive situation, and the comfort level that players need, they need to know what you're about. They need to know, why aren't you married? Or if you're married, what's your wife's name? Doesn't your wife like my wife? And who's in the players' family section? Who's that person that's been coming every day? And it's really like a large family that is as dysfunctional as it gets probably, but you just don't, I never sensed for a second that I could allow myself to open up to my teammates, and it was a really long, hard journey.
Was there never any team where you had some loudmouth, like there always was in school, who would yell across the room to you the most embarrassing question he could put to you, just to see what your reaction would be? I mean, was there somebody that was bound to determine he was going to find out what was going on with Billy Beane? Well,
I was in the situation I came from. I was married, and I was married. I was with my wife married for 4 years, with her for 9 total, and it was very, everyone knows about that. So the idea that a baseball player got divorced, that's not so foreign. That's common in sports world, just like it is in regular life. So I had a window of time where I wasn't being challenged to why I was single. But one of the things, and one of the hardest things that I've had to accept, and I regret much, is that I had to date women, be with women on the road around the other guys to perpetuate that reputation. If you're young, you're successful, you're good looking, you have a lot of money, it doesn't take long before the questions arise. Why doesn't he have a girl in his life? Or why isn't there someone else? What's wrong with this person? And so I knew that. So it was one of those things where it seemed like I always had to find a girl to be with, and then that was damaging to my partner at home. It was damaging to me. It was damaging to the person, and it was just very, very hard.
After this short break, Billy Beane describes the personal tragedy he suffered in solitude.
If you've ever wondered where to find the captivating books we discuss on Now I've Heard Everything, wonder no more.
Just tap the link in our show notes or visit our website, heardeverything.com.
Plus, when you purchase through our affiliate links, you're not only diving into great stories, but also supporting this podcast.
And we thank you for your support.
Now back to my 2003 conversation with Billy Beane.
Does it also mean you have to laugh when the manager tells a horrible joke?
Well, it's amazing, and I talk about Tommy Lasorda, who was one of the best joke tellers probably that ever lived. So all of a sudden, when I started to accept and understand, my sexuality, and was beginning to harbor that secret from the Dodgers, the jokes just started to sting, and I think that it's not any different from someone who is from a certain ethnic group or religion, who might be in a room when they hear a joke and someone's saying it that they didn't know that person was represented. And it was always safe to make jokes against homosexuality in a baseball clubhouse or for a manager or someone famous like that because nobody else was in that room. So it wasn't like I could lash back. I couldn't show any sensitivity to it. I had to just let it, roll off my back. And after a while, it started to eat at me because it really made me feel separate. And that's when you start to think, maybe I don't belong here.
There had to have been other guys that were feeling the same way, weren't there?
Absolutely. And the most amazing thing is it hasn't been until I stopped playing and talk to other people who have stopped playing that I have come to know some other players like that. The active players, I think, are so strong and strong-willed, and they know that to trust someone that you don't know well. I'm hoping the book will allow people to feel a sense of fraternity if indeed they need that. I'm not looking for anyone to tell me anything that they're not ready to talk about. But I think that what I have been a strong proponent for in the gay and lesbian community is being supportive of people who are not ready to come forward. The ones who are, and I am one of those people who live openly and happily so, I think we have to be strong role models and keep the bar moving up to destigmatize whatever it is some of these people have with homosexuality and realize it's nothing different than your hair color or what state you're born in. It's just something different about you. And to me, it's biology, and it's the way I am. It's the way I was born. It's the truth, and there's nothing I can do about it.
And there will always be Neanderthals who say, well, that's fine. He didn't throw like a girl. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
But it's important that people see positive images, and that's why traveling around the country over the last couple years, and now with the book, I always bring a video of me playing in games and hitting home runs and diving into second base because people need to be educated. They need to be educated that Billy Beane's no different than Derek Jeter or Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds. It's just men playing baseball, and one happens to be from one certain community and one from another. It doesn't mean if a man happens to be gay, he can't throw a ball or hit a ball 450 feet.
No, and clearly, you got the exploits in the book to talk about that as well. But it just, I defy anyone to get to the chapter, and I don't want to give away too much of the story because it almost reads like a novel places, but you have a tragic loss at one point of the book. And the idea that you can't mourn this person in the way that you needed to be able to, it just, I don't know. I defy anyone to reach that chapter and not feel very strongly that things need to change.
Well, it makes me feel great that that's the reaction you got, because it was a very hard story to put in the book, because it's something that not only was it so difficult to go through, but I have so much regret for what I did right after my partner Sam's death. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about a time where I found someone that I fell in love with. I left my wife. I built a life. And coming home from the ballpark a couple days before spring training 1995, I felt like my life was starting to make sense. I was a big leaguer. I had a great home. I had a great partner. And he tragically died over the course of the next 6 hours in the emergency room. His pancreas had ruptured, and he was basically, the toxins in his pancreas poisoned him. And, my mother, my father, I had no friends. Nobody knew about him, my life. And to grieve in complete secrecy is a terrible thing to go through. And I think that it's an example that's important for people to see that what many in the gay and lesbian community, many people from any ethnic differences and different cultures have had to excel or feel like they had to be stronger and do more just to survive and to be a part of something for maybe their work or where they wanted to live. You know, all of these things that we've had to sacrifice. And the biggest sacrifice that I took was to not go to the funeral of the person I spent 3 years with in my home, basically just to pretend that it never happened. It was like a terrible dream. And that's something that I have to live with the rest of my life. And I think that the book has helped me sort of let go in a therapeutic way, sharing that. Not that it makes me feel any better, but maybe somebody won't make that same mistake. Maybe not the same opportunity will happen, but the idea of putting yourself and someone that you care about so far behind the rest in that sort of disease to please, out of fear that you're going to be rejected or judged by something that you really have no control over. And I think the message is strong. I think the book is going to be an olive branch to the people that we love, our parents, our coworkers, our friends, and give them an opportunity just to see that it's just human nature. It's not a book about being gay. It's not a book specifically about baseball. It's just a book about a kid who wanted to realize his dream and make his parents proud. And along the way, a lot of things happened. And because he couldn't share that with people, or reach out and ask for a little help, I made a ton of mistakes, and mistakes I don't want other people to make. The book is for everyone. It's not for anyone in particular. Anyone who doesn't know much about sports is going to learn a lot about baseball and the beauty of what Major League Baseball can be about in sports. And I just think sports is a great platform for bringing people together. Competition is the purest, most innocent form of, and that breaks down barriers. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your religion, how much money you make, what your address is. You put 5 guys on a basketball court against 5 other guys, and you got a family, battling against another family. And I think that I'm proud of my career more now than I was before, because I've let go of the frustration and I've accepted myself. And I think that if we can change just a few people's minds, I think we've done something really great.
Billy Beane died in 2024 from leukemia. He was 60. Now you can get your copy of Going the Other Way by Billy Beane by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 1990 interview with MLB's first gay umpire, Dave Pallone.
I think I will be the person that will be remembered that started the trend to get the gay community out of the closet in professional baseball.
And my 1990 conversation with a former manager of the San Diego Padres, although not when Billy Beane was there, Dick Williams.
The tail's wagging the dog now. Players are being paid for what hopefully they will do, not what they did the previous year. But more power to the player. They have a short-lived lifespan in the major leagues. Get what you can. The owners can afford it.
And, of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, what happens when the U.S. tries to set up a democracy in another country? Doesn't always go the way we'd planned. My 2006 conversation with Fareed Zakaria.
Most Americans think that this is the most democratic country in the world, but actually, it's probably the least democratic of the advanced democracies. The founding fathers never called America a democracy. They called it a republic.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.